got my laces tied. My trusty podcast by my side. If you wanna talk fun, it's the place to be. Yeah, it's the drop, D-R-O-P.
All right, everyone. Today we are here with Terence Gerchberg. I got that right?
Yeah, Gerchberg. Yeah,
Gerchberg.
T.
Yeah,
just the letter T.
Oh,
that's it.
Just the T. We can go with that.
Yeah,
all right.
that's it. It works.
Just spilling that tea. All right, so we're here with Terence T, and I'm excited to talk to you. You are the CEO of Back on My Feet. Correct. And probably a lot of you listening have heard of Back on My Feet, or at least somewhat familiar with it. And we're going to get all into that, but I also want to hear a little about your life story. I know you've had an interesting life story that's led you to here, yes. And you've been the CEO for how long now for Back on My Feet?
2 months.
2 months? That's
2 months, yeah.
but I didn't even know that.
I worked at Back on My Feet for 7 years.
Okay,
I was there for 7 years. I started as a volunteer.
Wow.
In 2012, and then I was the executive director overseeing the New York City market from 2013 to 2020. So I have a lot of...
Yeah, it's not like you were waiting tables and then you're like, oh, now I'm CEO.
Yeah, that would be a cool story though, right?
That would be.
That would be kind of neat.
Yeah, I mean, have you waited tables before?
I have. Matter of fact, the Olive Garden in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Really?
That's right.
Have
you been to that one?
I've had some breadsticks there a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. What if you waited on my family before? That would be who knows? It could have happened.
It could have.
It actually could have happened. We didn't go out to eat that much, but every once in a while when we were trying to celebrate like a graduation.
But that was where everybody went.
The Olive Garden.
There was a husband and wife that would come in after a long run. They would run 20 miles and they would ask for all the salad and breadsticks. I'm like, what's wrong with these people running for so long? And then now... Look at us.
Yeah.
People are like, what's wrong with these guys running for so long?
Dude, a 20-mile long run followed by some bottomless breadsticks sounds pretty nice.
It does,
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
All right, well that's amazing. Yeah, we were talking a bit before the podcast. We had a little bit of a connection where you were in Harrisburg. You lived in Harrisburg, PA for a little bit. I'm from right there outside Harrisburg and near Hershey, PA. And so we had a little bit of background there, but you've had an interesting life that's led you to this point, right? And was running always a part of your life, or was that kind of like something you got into later?
Later. I mean, running, any sport you played. I grew up in Southern California, so, I'm not big, but when I tried to play football, junior varsity, they'd have you run, and I always enjoyed running.
Yeah.
Running around, and throughout this podcast conversation, I know I'm going to get emotional, and because this city means a lot to me, my running journey. Nice. It's already bringing up all these feelings and emotions, because one, this city is so great for so many reasons, and running, and especially what you all created. Believe in the Run.
I'm glad someone's finally recognizing Baltimore.
Yeah. I have my heart is here. Since we're talking about running, I was in a gambling rehab facility up on East Baltimore, and like Exeter, right? That's right there. And I was there for a month, and during that time, a buddy of mine called me up. He goes, "We're in." I said, "Where are you?" Because I'm in a rehab facility for my gambling addiction.
Yeah.
And no, he goes, "We both got in the New York City Marathon." I was like, "Oh, right, we applied, and this is 2002."
Okay.
I didn't mean to like jump right into this.
No, let's do it.
So all my training was here. When I was like, "What do I do?"
No way. So that was when you first started running.
I really started running.
First off, why did you apply to the New York City Marathon without?
I mean, okay, I'll take it a little further back.
All right.
I lived in Los Angeles, and my uncle Joey came over once, and he showed me his medal. It fell on my birthday. My birthday's March 3rd.
Okay.
My favorite number's 3. Whatever.
Okay.
People are gonna be like, "Why is this guy saying that?" And I was like, I want to do that. And I used to take my shoes with me when I'd go gambling, and I never would run because I'd gamble.
Okay.
And then I signed up for the Los Angeles Marathon once because it fell on my birthday. I was like, I want a medal. It's my birthday. It's going to be great. Sure enough, I never trained. I never took the shoes out of the bag. I never ran. And then ultimately, the Los Angeles Marathon now never falls in March. It's always in February. So it'll never get, I have since run it, but that's a side mark. So when I started down this road of like, I'm going to sign up for it. And I think he might've suggested, let's sign up. You could sign up online. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I had run like a 5K or, I've done the corporate challenge where it's like 3.5 miles or like I do 4 miles. Like I was never running more than 4 miles ever.
Right.
And we signed up, and back then, like, it's not like now where the information is like, you have such a small probability of getting in.
Yeah. Back then you probably filled out a postcard and probably put a piece of like a spot of blood on it to make sure you're a real person. They were like, you're in. Yeah.
And we got in, and I remember the call like vividly, and I was like, oh, here I am transforming my life. This is something I've always wanted to do. Okay, let's do it. Let's train. So my Inner Harbor, I'd run around, Federal Hill. Like I just ran everywhere. So like, Baltimore means so much to me.
That's so cool. I didn't know that. That's
like
amazing.
To a level where like when I got off the train yesterday, I went by the old facility where I lived for a month, and it just brought up all these feelings of like, it was 24 years ago. And
24 years
and
ago.
I have not missed the New York City Marathon ever since. This will be my 24th consecutive New York City Marathon.
No way.
Running saved my life, and now I'll never miss it for the rest of my life.
So this is almost like, it's like a piece of your soul is here.
Yeah.
Like Harry Potter style. That's amazing. So let me dial it back even more a little bit. So I know you had an interesting life growing up, and then you mentioned that you were here in Baltimore for gambling rehab. What was that like for you? Like at what age did you get into that? Because I think a lot of, back on my feet is like, it's in the name. Like you're getting people back on their feet who are either experiencing homelessness or addiction or things like that. So you come from that background.
Yeah.
And how did you, like, what brought that about in your own life?
Early on, I gambled. I mean, any addiction you're looking for, I shouldn't say it. For me, it was that quick fix.
Yeah.
There is no shortcut to anything.
Yeah.
But that's what I thought that gambling would do. It would give me that quick fix, that wealth, that whatever I was chasing.
Mm-hmm. And what when you did that, what was your gambling style or whatever?
Blackjack.
Oh yeah.
Blackjack, roulette, like
I get it, man.
not much sports,
Yeah.
which was good because now look at what this. It's crazy what sports gambling has become. It was that blackjack, roulette. Mainly I'd go to Atlantic City or Vegas.
Okay, yeah. And you, how long did you do that for before you hit rock bottom? I guess.
Yeah, I joke. You never have a gambling problem when you're winning.
Yeah.
So you hear, I did it a little bit in high school. With a couple friends, I'd play cards, but that was always weird, taking your friends' money.
Right.
And it got really big after September 11th. Like I gambled, but I would work on Wall Street. I graduated from NYU with an accounting finance degree, and
okay.
I would take the subway every morning, 5 stops to work on the floor of the American Stock Exchange. I was a trader, yelling and screaming. So there's a gambling component there. And when the towers fell, my sister, Heather, and my brother, Ricky, were both working on the exchange. And I came out, and I couldn't fathom like what happened. I was like, how is there a hole in the, and then I was like, just go to work. Just go to work. Like,
yeah.
Like they're like people, and they're like, and I was like, how did this happen? Like because it's not technology, and I'm trying to process it and then all of a sudden I got next to it, and an explosion went off, and then I saw a hole in the other one, and I was like, how did the flames jump?
You were like, saw it.
I was like, what's happening? And then I remember this father so vividly with his daughter on his shoulders. She's like, look, Daddy, a fire. And he's like, I know, we're going to go. And I walked by Alexander Hamilton's grave at Trinity Church and still see all of it. And I walked into the American Stock Exchange, and there's TV everywhere. And I'm like, wait, planes went into these buildings? Like,
oh, so you just saw and thought there was there was a fire.
Yeah, I didn't understand until I walked into work that it was planes. And then we're like a block and a half away. And
did you take the subway to work?
Yeah, every day.
So you were underground when it happened.
And every day for 5 years, I would walk under the World Trade Center. And as the runner that I always thought was, I'm so fast, I'd always be at the first door, and I would sprint, and I would be the first one out there. And then there was somebody faster than me, and I said to myself, okay, let him go. It's not a race. And then as I was walking into the World Trade Center to go underground, everybody was running out, and I'm like. And that's when I went up the stairs, and I went and I saw the hole, and I was like, okay, you can't do anything, walk to work. And then when I was walking to work, that's when the second plane hit the second tower.
No way.
The south tower, actually, yeah. And that's when I went into work, and I told my brother and my sister, I was like, we're leaving. They're like, everybody's like, it's okay. I was like, if those buildings fall, we're a block and a half away. Like, no. So we went to South Street Seaport. And then everybody, because technology wasn't like it is now, they're like, they got the Pentagon, they got the Empire State Building. I was like, who's they? What's happening? Like, the information just wasn't coming. And that's when the first tower fell, and we were covered by like all the soot. And then we walked home, and it just sent me to a really dark place. And that's when I went on a gambling streak, and I won like 9. I just didn't care. I was numb.
Yeah.
Robbie, I was numb. I was like a shell of a human being. And that's what happened. Like I gambled every weekend. That was like, some people try to find, I guess, an answer at the bottom maybe of a bottle. I never, that was never me, and it was gambling. Yeah. And
did you know anyone who died in the?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
A couple people were at the restaurant that traded on the floor, and yeah.
Wow. Man, yeah, and so I can imagine. And did you realize at the time that that's what you were doing, is trying to escape this, or you just were, it's just kind of what you did?
Yeah, it was, I think it was a little bit of everything. It was like frustration. It was like, why are people coming down there to take pictures? Why? Like, I was born in New York in 1972. That's when those towers came up. Like, I went to NYU, and I'd say goodnight to them. They meant like something more than just to me as a New Yorker. So like watching the Twin Towers fall and being there, and
it almost feels like a personal attack or something, just on your spirit. Yeah, man, that is. And so so after that, then so how long did your gambling addiction go for?
That was just then I blew up. So that's I hit rock bottom. So that was September 11, 2001.
Yeah.
And then I just went on like this. Every weekend I was either in Vegas or Atlantic City, just like a bender, like nobody's business. Like I was winning.
It probably didn't help you were working on Wall Street. I'm guessing you had some money to blow.
I didn't have the money that I ended up losing. Like,
At first you probably had some, but I'm sure it went south real quick.
Yeah. I wrote a whole kind of like a screenplay story about my life because it was so like ups and downs. But I went on this 9-week. And I was going to buy an apartment. I was going to call it Casa de Casino. And at the time, Bare Naked Ladies had a song, if I had $1 million, I'd be rich. And I had like $250,000 in the bank. Then I had $500,000. I was like, but... Oh,
so you were on a heater to start out?
Oh, it was just crazy, man. Man. It was like That's unbelievable. It was really bad. Because now you're playing what you think is... Anyway.
Well, you also think that you're like, I figured it out. Like, you're like, I'm the one person who figured out blackjack.
I'm unstoppable. And it was...
And I'm guessing you weren't counting cards either.
No, I mean, but you see, you've lived enough to where you see like cycles happen, and you kind of do. And the casino, I think the games have changed a lot since I've been gambling, or I've stepped a foot in a casino. And yeah, it was like, wow. And then when I lost it huge in Vegas. And then I lost a lot. I'll send you the whole thing. I don't want to.
I read online that you lost like $1 million in one weekend. Is that true?
Yeah.
That's, dude.
It was $500,000 in Vegas, and it was about $500,000 in Vegas, and then I flew straight to Newark, and I had Atlantic City pick me up from Newark and take me straight there. And my sister.
Because you're a whale, so they're like, whatever.
Well, in 2002, I went to the Super Bowl in New Orleans, flown down on a private jet by the casinos. I watched an unknown Tom Brady beat the St. Louis Rams,
Yeah.
and they were 15-point underdogs, and I took the money line, and that weekend I won $250,000.
Oh my gosh, dude.
So it was silly. Like
No,
I was playing above my means, even working on Wall Street. I should not have been playing
right,
at that level.
Right. Well, that's the thing. It's like this is the story with anyone in any gambling or addiction or whatever, is that you think you have control of it. You think you have some sort of, but really you don't.
No.
And I mean, it's interesting. I'm interested to hear your thoughts, maybe real quick, on the rise of especially sports gambling in the U.S., because I think I honestly think it's a bubble that's waiting to burst, if it hasn't already, especially with young men who are already prone to suicide and mental illness and everything. And I feel like sports gambling especially is coming at the worst time during the pandemic, legalized everywhere, it's easily accessible from any device in any state, and then you're giving this addiction in the palm of your hand to kids who are 18 or even younger, who have access through some other means. And I feel like it's just this thing in the background that's waiting to blow up. You're already seeing it, but it's like, and then you have to combine that with like the male loneliness epidemic and everything else, and I feel like it's just, I hate it, honestly. And like, I'm not saying I don't have any of those apps. Me and my friends will sometimes do something around the playoffs or whatever, March Madness, and like once a year I'll go to a casino. So I'm not saying I'm perfect by any means, but I do hate like gambling in general. Like the risk is just like, I don't like it. But I just think that the sports gambling thing right now is out of control.
Could not agree with you more.
Yeah.
I mean, they're literally advertising during the playoffs and games. Like, it's...
I mean, could you imagine if that was existed when you were like...
we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I do things to a huge extreme.
Yeah.
And I'm aware of that. And I was glad I found running, or running found me. And I was able to put all of that, like, energy and passion into something that I got incredible results. And I got to put one foot in front of the other and move myself in the positive direction, because the path I was going on was destructive.
Yeah.
It was destructive from a monetary, which was unsustainable, and then it would have led to self-destruction and whatever else. When you're in that, you start to spiral out of control in a way that is, you can't even see it. Like,
But I feel like at least back, and obviously, it didn't work. You'll figure out a way to do it. But at least back then, you had to do something. You had to go to a physical location, or like drive to Atlantic City or whatever, fly there, or whatever. But now it's the same. I mean, in a way, it's like alcohol. For an alcoholic, everywhere you go, there's alcohol. It's the same way where if you have a gambling addiction, everywhere you look, there's an advertisement for it. There's a casino probably within an hour of you, no matter where you live. And I feel like it's just, I don't think it's a good thing in any way.
I agree with you completely. It's absolutely horrible. And the reason why I tell this to you, and I tell it to anybody, if anybody ever wants to talk about it, I'm here.
Okay,
I
cool.
mean, call me, text me, email me. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to hit rock bottom. I know what it's like to hit rock bottom and say I'm done, and that wasn't my rock bottom. I found a new rock bottom.
Yeah.
And then I found another one. And then when I became truly a shell of a man, and I went and I told my father on Father's Day I lost it all, and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like, and now there's criminal potential implications because of Clark County, Nevada. There's no such thing as debtor's prison, but they found a loophole.
Okay.
They use the district attorney as a collection agency.
Oh, interesting.
So you could spend every time you right now, if you write a check and it bounces,
Yeah.
they're not going to put you in prison. They'll put a lien on your property. In Clark County, Nevada, the district attorney can put a warrant for your arrest, and actually, if you got pulled over, could extradite you and send you to Nevada. And I had, again, I'm not here to teach a class on legal things, but I had 8 counts against me.
Yeah.
Each count held 1 to 4 years in prison.
Yeah, that'd be scary.
Yeah.
I feel like that could put you in a rock bottom spot real fast.
Yeah, And when you lose so much money, 7 figures in a weekend, that's not a hole you're climbing out of.
Right.
Like you're not like, ooh,
it's not like you could go get that money.
Yeah, it's like $10. Can I borrow $10? Right. And it brought up a bunch of feelings. I thought I was the big fish, the big whale, and I checked myself in the rehab facility, and sure enough, I guess I could use his name, Adam, and was there, and he had lost more money, and he's since written a book, and I just reached out to Adam, and there's always somebody that's lost more, there's always something.
Right.
The name of my screenplay is Never Enough, because it is never enough.
Yeah.
It never would have been, even if I hit the $1 million and I'm on stage singing with the Bare Naked Ladies, which I don't think I should sing on stage with anybody or be with them. But yeah.
I was just listening. There's a band from Baltimore called Turnstile, and they have a new single out called Never Enough, which I was listening to right before this podcast.
Wow.
So how about that?
That's pretty crazy.
I like that.
Yeah. I have to listen to it now.
Oh, it's great.
You turned me on to Turnstile?
Yeah.
There it is.
Awesome. Anyway, so you went to rehab, and what year was this then?
2002.
And was the first rehab like did you have to go back a bunch of times did you relapse with gambling, or was that like that was it and you were like, I'm moving on?
The program was incredible.
Oh, cool.
Dr. Val, Dr. Ken, and what they did. And then I committed to going to a year of Gamblers Anonymous in New York City. So every week I'd go to a meeting, and it became setting up safeguards. I mean, I just don't go to Vegas. I went to Vegas for my friend's bachelor party, and I saw Pete Rose there, and I wish I would have gotten something because, Pete Rose is infamous for
He's
that.
Like the patron saint of gambling.
Yeah, gambling. And I was there, and I gambled a little bit, and it was like $2,000. I'm like, what am I doing? It was like, by that time it started to be, and I realized that I just can't even tempt myself. And I, ironically, or interestingly enough, or how life shows up for you. Fast forward, I fell in love with a beautiful woman from Atlantic City. Her parents live in Atlantic City. So
really?
when I go visit my in-laws, we go on Atlantic City, and I run by all of the, my wife, Rachel, she's absolutely incredible. And my in-laws, Phyllis and Will, they live in Atlantic City. So when I leave their apartment, if I go right, I have 1 mile of nothing. If I go left, I run by the casinos where I placed my last big bet.
Wow.
So it's a really good reminder. I just don't take any cash. And in Atlantic City, you can put yourself on a list where you can't gamble.
Oh, that's good.
Which is really cool. There are some safeguards, and talking about how bad it is. Look, you can put safeguards in it, but we all know that there's workarounds for every safeguard you put up. Like, you have to do 100 push-ups before you can unlock your phone. Like,
right.
You've heard of, I'm not going to open this cookie jar until the timer goes off, and you're like breaking the,
right. Yeah.
So,
well, I'll just take the batteries out of the timer.
There, see, I guess you've done that.
Yeah. No, but it's the same with your phone. You put those limits on. No one's adhering to those.
But you have to do the limits within yourself. And the great thing is, since I have that running, when I do run by it, it's a different pressure lifted. I smile.
Yeah, that's
in a different way.
Cool. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. First off, I didn't know anyone lived in Atlantic City. I mean, I've been there, and I just thought it was like pawn shops and the casinos.
A little bit further down.
Okay, yeah. I probably never got that far. No. Yeah, I just the boardwalk and I mean, which, if no one's listening, fun fact, I believe all the Monopoly spaces are named after streets in Atlantic City, right?
No, that's you're 100% correct.
All right.
Yeah. That's where it was like.
And Boardwalk Empire was a great show back in the day.
It was. I need to see it. Yeah.
That was a good one. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, so then remind me, what year was that? Did you say?
2002.
2002. And then so when did you? So take me on your journey after that. So you got clean. Do you call it getting clean when it comes to gambling, or what do you call it?
Well, I'm always an addict.
Yeah.
I'm always, compulsive. So that's where I kind of like my recovery. Like, that's where my birth, when you place your last bet. But I guess I call it recovery. Yeah, recovery.
Yeah.
I'm sure they should. I'm sure they do have a cool name for it, but I just.
Yeah. My brother, which he was in he had like he was part of the really same time as you, the like opioid epidemic and stuff. So for like 10 years he was in that world, but he made it out. I don't think any of his friends did, but yeah. So so I'm like somewhat familiar with the havoc that it takes on families and stuff. Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of crazy, but yeah. So then after that, you ended up. So you're still in New York City, or did you? Okay.
I saw. New York. It's just the city that kind of gets me, and then I really started immersing myself in the running community. Yeah. And there was a really cool, at the time, Nike had this really great running program. So I started training for my first New York, and I met some great people. I met actually Toby Tanzer that was just on here for Shoe for Africa.
That's totally, by the way, totally random that you're both guests within the same month or whatever.
Yeah, it was. And
didn't even know that.
Yeah, and I was just messaging with him. I was like, "You did such a great job." He's like, "Thanks." Nice. And then another great coach was Jonathan Kane out of New York. He's I met all these incredible people. You know how the community, the running community, it doesn't get better. I mean, we just met up in Boston, and I'm a huge fan of the content that you guys put out, and I just and we kind of geeked out, and then here I am, just
totally.
So it was really immersive, and from there I started meeting a couple different people, and every time I talk about running, people could, I hope the infectious, the contagiousness, the love for it is just as strong as it was 24 years ago. Yeah. And it started to snowball, and then I was overseeing the Nike running program in New York City, and that started to get bigger. And while I was doing that, I was doing real estate, and I'm like, I can show everybody around. Like, I know the city extremely well. I run in it. And so I was doing some real estate, and that was a lot of fun. And I was like, because I didn't want to go back to Wall Street. Like, that was just like, let me just work on my people skills and just have a lot of fun. From the Nike, I became a Lululemon ambassador, which was great. And then I started overseeing the running program for Terrier Tri. It's a triathlon group, everybody training for the Ironman. Okay. And I was doing the run coach, because nobody wants me to be their swimming coach or their biking coach. But the running part, they're like, cool. Right. And by that time, I'd been running a bunch of marathons. I was getting faster, qualifying for Boston. I was like, what's this Boston thing? And then I went to Boston. I was like, oh my God, I've got to run Boston. And now I'm talking fast. But hopefully everybody who's listening to this on their phone, I know I speed it up, and they're going to be like, I can't speed this guy up because he's too fast. But
I like the micro machines, man. For those who are older.
Older, yes.
Anyone younger than 30 has no idea what I'm talking about.
I completely remember it now. Now I feel like we need to go buy some of those micro machines.
We should, I think there's some kicking around my house somewhere or something that might.
So I really got immersed in the running community and with clubs. And have you heard of Bridge Runners? Yeah. So Mike Sace, I was the original Bridge Runner coach back in New York, like OG stuff, like really.
So this is like late 2000s, like 2006?
Yeah.
Something like that, 2008?
Yeah.
Were you mentioned like Nike Run and stuff like that. I feel like Casey Neistat did that whole Nike thing like in the late 2000s. Yeah,
that one video. Yeah, but that was like, I think he might have done it around that time, but he wasn't involved. That's when Lance was really big.
That was the Nike watch, I think he did that for.
Yeah.
I remember that was like if there's any influencer or viral stuff, that was like one of the first ones.
Yeah, when he traveled around, that was sick what he did.
Yeah.
I've seen Casey a couple times in New York running.
Okay. Yeah, because he ran the New York City Marathon, I think, this past year. Did pretty well.
I think
or the year before.
I think it was this year he broke through. Yeah. With Rob. Yeah.
That's
and he did it in another one. But I wasn't connected. It was really during, 2006 was the first year I broke 3 hours in the New York City Marathon.
Nice.
It was Lance. That was the whole Nike with Lance Armstrong kind of thing. Right. And Lance actually showed up to a couple of the runs, and he was trying to talk smack, and I was like, dude, I'm faster than you. I don't know what to tell you. But he went, he did 259. I did 257. I'll say that's no big deal. But then he tried to he saw me afterwards, and he was like, oh dude, how'd you do? I was like, I beat you, man. And I talk smack to you
and I
on the course
using HGH.
Yeah. And so we had our own little thing, but he's a competitive dude. And then I really started getting more and more immersed in breaking it. In 2007, I broke 3 again, and then 2008 I was a little slower. I was on The Amazing Race.
I was going to talk to you about this. First, that's awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
If there's any reality show I could be on, it would be The Amazing Race.
Let's do it right now.
Right.
R&T. That's it. Let's get it.
I'm in.
Yeah.
So you're on The Amazing Race. Who was your partner?
Sarah. It was Terrence and Sarah was my girlfriend at the time. We were the newly dating couple.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was your like
Now that you
persona?
have to label. Yeah, you have to. Yeah. Yes.
And so what season of it?
Season 13.
13.
So early.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And how was that? Like I've always wondered, does it look like it is on the show, like The Amazing Race? Is it pretty much like that?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like if they called me right now, I would stop this. Maybe I'll try to like end it and like wrap it up and be like, I'm out.
We're good.
Okay, good. So we're done. We're going on The Amazing Race.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. You know, the one little caveats, it's a show about two people. It's about the relationship. So you have a cameraman and a sound person with you. So it's not like we can run as fast as we can dropping hammers. They have to stay with us.
Right.
But yeah,
interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
they have to be with you. And if you are running kind of fast, they could get in a car. Like, but it really is. There's no do-overs. There's no like this, but they're filming you for 7 hours for like 5 minutes of clips, and you're sleep deprived, and you're going to all these places. I got to circle the world, man.
Dude,
like it was.
How many countries did you go to on that show?
Okay, we started
that season.
I think we circled the world. I used to always say I was in 24 flights in like it was crazy. It was like.
And how long?
Yeah,
is it like a week? Or?
No, it's a little bit longer. It's about 2.5 weeks.
Okay.
You know, it's
that's still ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like it's a whirlwind. So we started in Los Angeles. We went to Brazil. Then from Brazil, we went to Bolivia, La Paz, the highest elevation. And then we went to Auckland, New Zealand, where I got a speeding ticket. Then we went to Cambodia. Then we went to India, New Delhi, India, Old Delhi. Then Kazakhstan was where I was eliminated. Then it went to...
Wait, so if you're eliminated, then how does that work?
The first, I don't know if I'm supposed to say it, but I'll tell it. The first 6 teams that are eliminated go to like a place, like a house where they live to be off the grid because
they don't
want to tell anybody. And then the last couple teams become decoys. So we were a decoy, and
so that explains how you got to keep going.
Yeah, we got to keep going because you kind of have the ticket. You've gotten past a point where you can't go back.
Right.
And then they have to bring everybody to the finish line. So we were eliminated in Kazakhstan, and then they went to Moscow, and then from Moscow it ended in Portland, Oregon. One of the things was, like Voodoo Donuts, where's the magic in the hole, and like.
And then you had to run around the
track.
around
that area. No. So like
that'd be awesome. It'd been awesome. Hayward Field.
No, I wish that would have been. I would have been like faster than I'm faster than you. No. But no, it wasn't at Hayward Field. It ended in like the Rose Gardens or something. But yeah,
dude, that's so cool.
It was.
Was that
phenomenal.
Like the coolest experience of your life? I feel like it has to be up there.
Yeah, it's pretty high up there. Yeah, it was pretty high up there because so many people say they want to be on The Amazing Race. And I'm like, did you apply? And they're like, no. I was like, then you want to talk about it.
Right.
But like I made a video, and a ton of people have made videos and submitted, and it is hard. But it's like you put your best foot forward, you make a compelling story, and it was fun. The audition tape that was made, that Sarah and I made, was pretty fun. Yeah. Like, and then we got picked, and they interview on the phone. They're like, make another video, and then you go to LA, and they kind of like sequester you, and they're like seeing how you react, and then after a week, and then they're like, okay, cool, you've been chosen. And it was gonna fall on my brother's wedding, and I was like, I'm the best man. And then it got pushed back 1 week. I was like, sweet, I get to go to his wedding, and then I get to be on the show.
Wow.
So like everything kind of really worked out. And at that time I owed so much money, Robbie, to like, because we didn't even talk about losing all that money. You kind of owe it. Yeah. Like you still owe it.
I guess I never thought about that.
Yeah. And
you're like, dude, I need to win this race.
Yeah, I did. And cause it's $1 million, and it would have been split. And we didn't win. We were no longer dating by the time the show started. We're still friends. Yeah. And didn't win, so that didn't happen. And about 20 years later, I finally paid off all my gambling debts. So like that was like a huge burden. to do that.
Yeah.
Like to actually be debt free.
Did that mean something to you to pay off all the debts, or do you feel like, obviously it means something, but could you have bankrupted that, or was it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, so bankruptcy. Somebody gave me that advice, but it wouldn't have stopped what was happening in Vegas.
Yeah,
because those are markers. It's a crazy like law.
Yeah.
Like I got a real crash course in like law and
yeah.
So many things. Yeah. So like it didn't work that way, but
Okay.
you know, I could tell more about it, but it kind of works in Atlantic City, but like every place, everything works differently.
Okay,
So
yeah.
paying it back, because
Makes sense.
what kept me from prison is I borrowed money from all my friends and family, and I maxed out my 401k. I had nothing. Like and it'll segue into back on my feet.
Yeah.
I was living on my sister's couch, man.
Yeah.
Like I had no apartment, I had no money, I didn't know where my life was going. You know, I started running and meeting these people, and that's where I was like, this is where I want to make my living and my mark.
Dude, so it's like you did, like we talk about back on my feet, which we'll get into in just a minute here, but you were like that. I mean, you lived that life. Like running helped save you from that life. Yeah. That's crazy, dude.
Every step I take, I never take it for granted.
Yeah, man, that's amazing. So you started running marathons, starting getting into running, and then kind of fast forward me to where you ended up getting involved with Back on My Feet. Which, by the way, can you give a quick overview on Back on My Feet so that everyone knows?
Yep, Back on My Feet is a national nonprofit. We're located in 16 cities across the United States. It started in 2007 in Philadelphia by a woman named Ann Malum. And Ann Malum would run by a shelter and see men out there. And they're like, look, the woman's running. She's like, look, you guys aren't running. And she's like, why don't you come run with me? And that's how it started.
Wow.
And she created this incredible organization that I'm so grateful was started. And so how I got involved is when I was coaching for that triathlon group, a woman named Lucy, was the editor-in-chief of Self Magazine, said, you need to meet this woman named Ann. And I was like, wait, I read that article in Runner's World when Runner's World was a little bit different back then.
Yeah. I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah, so that article, and then I met Ann and I told her my story, and she goes, my father was a compulsive gambler. I want you to be a part of it. I was like, I want to be a part. I went to my first morning run, which you've been to, the morning circle up, where you go to a facility. So Back on My Feet, I'm going to simplify. Back on My Feet combats homelessness through the power of running.
Yeah.
Now, what does homelessness look like? You know, we partner with facilities that are addiction facilities, mental health, men and women that want to transform their lives, that are ready for that journey, and we're helping them. So I volunteered at the Bowery Mission, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I can put all my love for running and share it with people that want to make a change. And sure enough, I was hooked. And then they were looking for an executive director in the New York City market. I interviewed 2013 because of Ann and what she started. I started as the executive director. She was a CEO and she stepped down. Her last day was my first day, so I never got to work with her. She, from there, started Solid Core.
Okay. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And since she's sold it for like a tremendous amount of money, she's incredible. And I spoke to her yesterday when I was coming down. She's incredible at what she starts and her passion. It's somebody you should talk to. And I was there for 7 years. And then I was a vice president of global running in 2020. There was no more running. I mean, there was running, but there's no more races.
Right. How did that affect Back on My Feet when that happened?
So about 30% of our revenue comes in from people fundraising, raising funds to run the New York City Marathon. You know, sold out, Berlin, all the major marathons. We have charity bibs. Right. So it took a hit, but we're privately funded. So all the donations go towards the members, staff, everything. Yeah. So the great thing is, anything that's affecting the government doesn't affect us necessarily. We privately funded. It affected us in a big way because if you have...
You don't get federal grants. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. So, but it affected us because nobody was running the New York City Marathon, the Boston Marathon, right. any of these major marathons and raising $10,000 for a bib. That's like, if you have 100 bibs and you're raising that's $500,000. Yeah. That's like real money towards the program. So it affected it, and they did some restructuring. And then from there, I transitioned to overseeing a free summer camp for kids. It's called Steve's Camp. It's up in the Hudson Valley of New York. Okay. And that was great. It gave me a gentleman by the name of Steve Kessner started with his wife, Cheryl, and their family. And it's just a small, wonderful nonprofit that takes kids that live in the tri-state area and get them up to summer camp to get to see the outdoors. I know, like you were talking about it before, where it's so important. Like there isn't much green space in these cities, and to get kids ages 11 to 18, and it allowed me to kind of look at things differently. I was the CEO of that and bring in different sources of revenue, and it gave me more tools in my toolbox of asking people for money, how to save money, building a team, like what you guys have created, knowing your strength and surrounding you with the people that do. And then the opportunity presented itself to become the CEO of Back on My Feet. And I interviewed, and I was like, I can come back. Like I joke, like the extra B on this hat is, I'm back on My Feet. And to just tell this story to donors, to anytime I run, I'm going to rock that Back on My Feet stuff and believe in the run stuff, of course. But
you have to switch it up every now and
then. Let them know, but like, you work at Believe in the Run, but Robbie and I, we go way back.
All B's are equal in this situation.
There you go.
Yeah.
So when that kind of happened, it was, and I shared my mission with the board. I don't know how much you know about nonprofits, but there's board, and you speak to board members, and even right now, I came in, I was like, you're rocking Bombas socks. They're a huge supporter of Back on My Feet, and they give a lot of love. And Dave, the founder, and Emily, like employee number one, just joined the board. Like, there's so many, like, people want to get involved. When they hear it, they're like, how can I be a part of it? I'm like, call me up, text me, email me, let's go for a run. Tell me where you want, like, let's do it.
Yeah, that's great. Now, and
did I answer? Like, that was okay. I felt like I went on
for those who, so obviously they can go to your website and see which cities you're in. But say,
and I can tell you what they are.
Say somebody, it's all right. There's like 16 of them.
Yeah, okay, good.
well, you can imagine they're most of the major cities in America. So if someone wants to help join Back My Feet or help out, and not just give, which is obviously needed, but if they want to volunteer and run with the group, what does that look like for them? Like, if they, A, how to get involved, B, what it looks like when they show up to a run, and the general vibe if someone's looking to help out.
So I'll give you the link where they can sign up to volunteer, and it's on our website. Yeah,
I'll put it in the description. Yeah.
So the big thing is you sign up and you sign a release, because we want to make sure that if you're coming to run with us, just like how we screen the members. The members is a word that we use for the men and women we serve. Alumni are people that have graduated from our program. So you're a volunteer. You sign up. You've cleared. You're going to come to a morning run. You show up with your true authentic self at 5:30 in the morning,
which is early, but it's a good way to start the day.
It is a really good way to start the day, and in most cities you're going to be greeted with some hugs, and you'll say your name and what city you're from. I'm often like, my name is Terence Gerchberg, or T, and I work at Back on My Feet, or I'm from, and then then there's a question of the day. The Serenity Prayer is said, and then the leader will give a route, and then you end up running with somebody, and you might not know if they're a member or if they're another volunteer. Some of the winter months, you can see who the members are because they're like in very specific branded Back on My Feet gear, but then that's what you're doing. You're just running and talking and sharing life experiences with somebody who's turning their life around.
Yeah.
And you're assisting it. So if you just show up and you're committed to we're not a run club, we're a community of compassionate, caring people.
Yeah.
That you're not going there for your workout. You're not doing your tempo. You're not, I mean, if you want to make it a long run there and then run home. But that moment, you're there for somebody else.
Yeah.
And what you will get out of it is more than you ever thought you could.
Yeah. And I mean, it's pretty awesome because, like you were saying, a lot of, or who you work with are like the homeless population and using running as a tool, as we've all experienced, right? So we've all had this, seen how running has changed our lives, and then using that as a tool to help others in their lives. And it's pretty cool to see that happen. Like the Baltimore one here, is this still a Helping Up mission?
That's where I ran with this morning.
Yeah.
And that, by the way, that's catty corner from where.
Oh, that's where
I was for a month.
No way.
That's why.
Okay.
That's why, like, it brings up feelings, man.
Yeah. Man, that's wild. Yeah, and Helping Up Mission is a great organization in Baltimore. Really, really awesome place. So that's cool that you guys meet from there and work with the people from there. And yeah, I've seen like just like people from there doing, they'll do races around here, and I've gone to some of the Back on My Feet runs before as well. But I'll see them in their team because they have the shirts doing the races. It's freaking awesome just seeing like doing the Baltimore half marathon, whatever, or marathon. It's so cool.
Tonight, that's where I'm in town. Sneaks come out at night.
Oh yeah,
at Patterson Park.
I know,
that's
I'm bummed about because I wanted to do, and of course I'm going out of town like this afternoon. But I would have definitely showed up for it.
Next time I'll make sure you get a warning. And
all right, and So next year, because this podcast will come out in a couple weeks, for those, it's in Patterson Park.
Yes,
which is pretty close to us and near where I live. So yeah, it's a great fundraiser, great race on a Friday evening in May. So that's awesome. And how many people are in the program? Do you know, as a whole, like in the U.S.?
Well, we're, like you mentioned, we're in 16 cities across the United States. Right now we're hoping to serve close to 1,000 in this year alone.
Wow.
So, and when we say serve, that either get employed or housed. So throughout the year, there's some people that stay with us and come back. So throughout the year, there'll be, in each market, it's about right now, some markets are a little bit bigger. And like New York City, there's 4 shelters. In Baltimore, there's 4 shelters or facilities we work with. And on average, it's about 10 to 20. So,
so then do you help in that does Back on My Feet also help on that transition to housing and employment and everything like that? Yes. How does that work?
So the magic is they've got to show up every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 5:30 to 6:30 to run. Once we see that they've committed to doing that and really showing up, of course they get some gear. Then they start getting some job training, resume. We talk to the individual. What is it that Charles needs? Does Charles need help with a resume because he wants to get a job? Does he need help with financial literacy? He has some money, but he's not doing a great job of managing that money. Or is he has the job and he's doing better with managing it, but he needs that first month rent. So we meet people where they are. That's what makes it special. We have an incredible team. Isla's the vice president of programming. She's working with the staff and seeing where those needs are, and that's what we're raising money for, because it goes first month rent. You have a job, but you don't have that first month rent or security. Yeah, and now you're still in a facility because
that's huge. I mean, that's what I love that, because it's taking the holistic view of things, where it's like a wraparound type thing, where you have. Like, there's so many points along the way, I feel like, when it comes to recovery or getting back on your feet, that if one of those things fails, then it can disrupt the whole chain. So like you're saying, if you have transportation, you need to get to a job. If you have a house, that you need to establish a stable base of living. And if any of those things falls through, which is very hard for someone who's just completely starting over, then that can trigger a lot of corresponding dominoes that make the whole thing fall. So I do love that you take in the whole account of everything to really help someone get to that point.
And that's what we do. We really take an individual approach. And when we're talking about, say, when we're talking to an employment partner, well, how do we know that this man, woman is going to be great and dedicated? How many people do you know that wake up every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to run from 5:30 in the morning?
Not me.
But like there's obviously, you and I might be an anomaly just because we know a lot of runners that do that, but that are also transforming their lives, using the power of running, and now we're vouching for it. Look at their attendance. Like,
dude, there's something to be said for being disciplined at waking up 5:30 every 3 days a week, or and getting out there, especially in the winter and summer and anytime. Yeah. I mean, that says something about you. I don't even care who you are.
Yeah, it does. And that's used to be an older tagline. I don't know where it sits right now. And I guess as the CEO, I can bring it back, but we're transforming lives 1 mile at a time.
Yeah. I love that. How many, and you said that most of the runs are like 3 miles.
Yeah, 2 to
like
4. Some of the faster guys will get 4. Some of we walk. So like if you're intimidated and thinking that it's going to be it's not. It's we walk, we jog, we run, we move.
I'd imagine that anyone who's starting out, whether that's someone joining, as a volunteer or somebody in the program, running sucks when you first start. I think we all know that. I mean, I remember not being able to run a half mile when I first started running, but it's there's going to be walking. Yeah. There's going to be a little bit of everything.
Everything. And
cool.
we meet the members where they are.
Yeah.
There's plenty of runs that I've showed up to, morning circle ups, and I'm walking and I'm like, oh, this is so great. Like watching the sunrise in Manhattan, or I was just in Atlanta or in Boston when we ran into each other. Like that's a cool way to see a city sometimes. Just watching the sunrise.
Oh yeah. No, that's a great way to see the city. What's weird is that I probably don't do it as much in Baltimore, but when I'm in other cities, I love, or other places, that's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, watching the sunrise. Like, no one's quite awake, but yet you are. Like, you feel like you have a glimpse into the magic of the world or of that city.
Yeah, it's like getting to see everything before it all goes to shit that day. No, I'm just kidding.
And that's when with my wife or my kids later on, they're like, how do you know where everything is? I was like, because I was up this morning running around the city. So I know we're going to go to breakfast. I know we're going to get some groceries. They're like, how'd you map it all out? I was like,
you're like, dude, it's part of the process, part of the system. Yeah. That's awesome. So do you live in New York City still?
Yes.
Okay.
Penn Station, 24th Street between 8th and 9th Avenue.
Yeah, there you go. Whenever we get the train, that's where we should show up.
Yeah. Let me know next time.
Wow. So that's right there.
Yeah, it was like 5-minute walk from my apartment to come down here. So you're going to see me more.
Yeah.
So better watch out.
All right. Shoot. I've got to put a notice out, make sure everyone knows you're coming to the city.
Yes. I'll be down here more. There's such a great community in Baltimore. How do you say Baltimore?
With a D.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to. I don't know. It's Baltimore.
Baltimore. Yeah. So I know I'm like trying to be proper with it.
I'm not straight Dundalk. I don't say Balmer, but it's an in between for sure.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, I can't say Baltimore. It feels weird.
Yeah. So I know I'm saying it properly, but improperly.
But even though, what's weird is I'm from Pennsylvania. I've lived here for 14 years, so a third of my life at this point. But there's also in South Central PA, there is a blend of the Baltimore accent.
Yeah.
I've even growing up, saying the O's sometimes came through in that way. You know how it is. It's just a mix of regions.
It is. What I was saying is in Baltimore. You guys created. You guys believe in the run right there. We got some believe there.
Yeah, you brought over this nice wooden carving that you randomly found at a restaurant you're at last night.
I took it. I ran. I was like, I'm faster. No.
I've been training with back of my feet. I can take. You volunteered. You offered to buy this nice wooden carving that said "Believe" that you randomly saw at a restaurant last night.
Yeah, and then the owner Sammy. Bibos.
What was the name of the restaurant?
Bibos. BYB.
I'm gonna look it up. Make sure we got it.
Yeah, because it was really cool.
Because we need to give them a shout out.
Yeah, we definitely do. It's a Lebanese restaurant
on Light Street, right?
Yes.
In downtown Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
Lebanese. Let's see how good my Google skills are. Lebanese Light Street, Baltimore.
Yes.
And yeah, so Byblos, 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 4.7 out of 5 stars, 413 reviews. That's what's your, if you go to a restaurant and you're looking up online, what's your star limit? Do you have a star limit?
I don't know. I feel like 4.5 is like,
yeah.
Like
it's going to be good if it's 4.5 or above.
Like above. And I didn't want to let the team down. So I was like, and then everybody was fired up for Lebanese and I'm vegan. So like they had a bunch of vegan options. So I was like, let's do it. And like it had food for everybody. And then you get parting gifts to give to, and it was the most random, like there was 2 of them in the window
to believe.
And I was like, now there's only 1 now because the second one lives here. But he was so nice. He's like, you can have it. And I was like, but yeah. And he's like, you can have it. And I was like,
well, so there is, and you might know this, but going back to the early 2000s, there was like a Believe campaign in Baltimore, which is actually not how we got our name, but it was kind of a coincidence.
I know how you guys got your name.
From the Nike. Yeah.
Genius.
They should have locked that down.
They should have locked it down.
Because I was right around when you were doing the stuff back then. But they had this Believe carving and then just gave it to you.
Yeah,
it was pretty cool.
It was really good. It goes to asking about it, and what I was saying is ask and like really cool. And he was so happy to give it.
Yeah, you're like Widefoot Jarrett on our team. He's always asking for free stuff. No, I'm just kidding. I have to jab Jarrett when I can. He's probably not even listening.
You should listen.
No, that's awesome. What was I going to ask? Oh, you mentioned you're a vegan. Mm-hmm. Can you? It's always interesting to me, marathoners who are vegan. Not so much for the, obviously, sugar, glycogen, but the protein part of it. So how do you make sure and especially now that protein is like having a moment where I think it's a little overboard, but how do you get your protein, make sure you're staying strong, not getting injured?
So I've been vegetarian for a long time, for 30 plus years.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
you were doing it before it was cool.
Yeah, it was cool. And then I have an unfair advantage. I met a guy randomly in Southern California I was Ventura, California. I was out to lunch with a friend of mine that worked at Patagonia, Maggie, and Jen worked there too. And her boyfriend at the time was Scott Jerk.
Oh, okay.
So
that's definitely an unfair advantage.
So he's like, I'm gonna come to New York and I'm gonna run. I was like, oh, I'm a runner too, and I didn't know who this was. Like almost 15 years ago, before Born to Run, all the stuff. So he wasn't like as big of a household name in the running space.
In the ultra running.
In the ultra space, he was, but
ultra running wasn't even a thing.
It wasn't,
like it is now.
So then he's like, I'm coming in New York. And I'm going to go for a run. I was like, how far do you want to go? He's like, 4 or 5. I was like, you're not that big of a runner, 4 or 5 miles. I was like, I just ran a marathon. Like, do you know who I am?
He's like 4 or 500.
He's like 4 or 5 hours. I was like, what is wrong?
Oh, nice.
Like, and I was like,
pulled the trump card on you.
He just really did. And then at that time I was vegetarian and we started talking during the run more about veganism and how he gets it. And so like in that book came out, Eat and Run. So there was a lot of really great recipes. And, when I switched over, I did a lot of just like research, like practice. What is it? 2/3 of the world gets all their proteins from rice and beans. Like it's just, I'm not here to I'm not here to tell people what they should or shouldn't eat. This is not like an infomercial for PETA or being vegan, but there's so much more protein in foods if you're thoughtful.
Yeah.
I love nuts. Every day I make my own trail mix. I'm very conscious about how I'm doing things. And now, I mean, in New York City, even yesterday when I was walking from the train station, I walked in a pastry shop. I'm like, do you have anything vegan? They're like, yeah, we have this vegan Cinnabon. Like, I mean, there's
You're
no
living
protein.
in a good time.
Yeah. So like there was just some times when certain people were vegan, they're like, what? But now, I mean.
Oh, you need to go to Ecuben and get there. Have you been to Ecuben before?
No.
We always bring it up on the podcast because it's the best place in Baltimore. But
okay,
they have like this vegan, it's so good. They have they make fried chicken sandwiches that are like amazing, but they have vegan options that are like a tofu, this fried tofu that's with this sauce on it that's ridiculous. Which
Is it close to here? Is it
yeah,
like,
it's like 2 blocks away.
Guess what I'm doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing after the podcast? Let's
I
go.
can swing that.
Let's do that. So yeah, I mean, for now, like I am a little bit more thoughtful about it. And the great thing is, with that, knowing that for recovery, there's so many good protein powders out there where you can just use as a supplement, and even like the ready-made ones now, they haven't been vegan. I try not to do it. I try to get it more from Whole Foods, but I know you guys just had Nick on, Nick, or not too long ago, Nick Bear.
Yep.
Yeah. He actually, when I was attempting Leadville, I think he was attempting it one of the years I was out there, and I hope to connect with him at some point because I love what he's doing. I think he's doing some really great stuff in that space. But the simpler thing, and why I really liked the switch to vegetarian and veganism, is I was mindful. I got to look at things and say, wow, why is there beef fat in chips?
Right.
Like what? Like that's not needed. And just being more mindful and thoughtful of what I was putting in. And if I want rice, beans, lots of vegetables, and you can supplement it.
Yeah. That's interesting. I always like hearing different people's perspectives on it, but it's cool.
Yeah. So Scott, thanks. And having like somebody like that. And then
Scott Jerk's super cool, because we did a podcast with him back in December at the running event. And I was like, he was the most down to earth guy ever. Yeah. And I was like, he's a legend. Yeah, he is. And then through that, I got to meet Hella, which Hella's super. Hella good. Yeah, he's in Jersey, and sometimes if he's come up, we've gone to a couple really cool vegan spots. Nice. Like a Nixie in New York is one of our favorites, and there's just a couple really good. Willow, it's just this guy. His name is Guy. Puts out some incredible. He owns like 6 or 7 vegan restaurants in New York City, and they happen to be like a stone's throw away. Wow. So all you people going to New York, all you vegans who are going to New York,
come on, look me up. Soon. Let's go for a run. Hit up a vegan spot. Let's do it.
That sounds pretty cool. Yeah.
And Philly, where Back on My Feet started, Jackie, who used to oversee Back on My Feet here, we would go on vegan running tours ourselves. We created it ourselves. We'd be like, how many restaurants can we hit, like with our per diem, and like we would only get like an appetizer, but we would try to hit up like. A couple of like Veg was like a big one in Philly. And then it was like Charlie Was a Sinner. And there's like, and they're great names. Yeah. Like, so we would run all over the town.
We would go to Philly sometimes to Diodora's headquarters that's there, North American headquarters.
That's right.
And their CEO, Brian Porner, who's been on the podcast before as well. He's a huge vegan guy.
Oh, okay.
And so
I didn't know that.
we would always go to different vegan places when we went there. And actually, now you think that. Okay, never mind. There used to be a vegan near that Lebanese restaurant that you were talking about. There used to be a vegan restaurant like right beside there, but I think during the pandemic they closed. But all that to say, he would always take us to places in Philly. So I've probably been to some of the surprisingly been to some of the places you've been. But that's cool.
What we're doing. And
that's awesome. Yeah. So all right. I think we covered most of the stuff. What time is it? I don't want to keep you too long.
No, you keep.
How long are you in town for?
Tonight, I'm going to take the 9:30 train back. So I have 3 beautiful kids and a dog, and my wife is holding it down.
You have 3 kids?
Yeah. So I got to give a little bit of love to my big guy Jonah, who he gets to see. He's going to be really fired up. My beautiful daughter Lila. Yeah. Jonah's 5.5. Lila's 4, and my little guy Xander is 2, and then our incredible dog that's 13, Tess, Tes. And my wife Rachel. All right. So
I have a son named Jonas. He's 6. So
okay. So we're gonna.
Close.
Can I show you a quick picture? That's my family.
Oh, that's a beautiful family.
Thank you. Yeah.
You got lucky, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about that, man. Yeah. From 20 years ago till now, you turned out okay. That's amazing, man.
Yeah. Just putting one foot in front of the other, and just this community.
I think that's a great testament to just seeing that, especially for someone listening who might be in a spot or has a family member or something, like when there are times I feel like you're in that darkest, lowest point, and like in your wildest dreams, you can't imagine what you have now,
No, never.
But it was putting that one step in front of the other, and in a way, a journey of faith or just belief in yourself or a higher power or whatever, and getting out of it, and then man, like some great things can happen.
Yeah,
which is cool.
To be on this podcast with you, like half a mile away, like changed my life.
Yeah.
And then,
That's
I go to the
crazy.
city and I go to a restaurant and then this, it's like, it's surreal, like these emotions. And I'm like, I was talking to my wife on my way over here and I was she's like, she's a therapist and she's incredible. And I'm like, can we just have a moment like before I come in here? Cause you ground me in a way. And she's like, just sit with it, baby. Like, it's okay to like, cause I was like, I know I'm going to be brought up with emotions and everybody apologizes. And she's like, there's nothing wrong with crying. Just like sit with it a little bit.
Yeah.
And
no, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's because like I grew up with friends who are always like when I was in the band with my friends, we were always going through shit. Like
that must have been so cool. I want to hear those stories one day.
Yeah, and our lead singer, he had never met his dad, and so there was a lot of like his dad left when he was a baby or whatever. So there's like a lot of stuff around that, So like, and he was 21, and we're all like figuring out our life emotions and stuff. So I feel like it's very common, and especially when you're in a like you're on tour with friends, it just like becomes a very like raw place,
Yeah.
So I felt like there was a lot of that when we were drunk at 2 a.m. Going through shit, and so I'm quite used to it, so it doesn't bother, like it's never like phases me. But like when we did, and I told Thomas this, like when we did an episode with Thomas, we were doing our stories, our origin stories.
Theirs were great, by the way. It was really, really, really well done, guys.
Like, so when he was talking about his childhood, he had like a moment, and I was like, dude, it's cool. Like that's everyone's gone through shit and wants to like it makes you more human to know, for others to know what you went through, because like people all go through stuff, and sometimes it's varying levels of pain or of sorrow, but everyone's been there. Everyone's reached a low point at some point. Yeah. So I appreciate that when people are open.
Thank you. Yeah, it made me like Thomas.
Yeah.
More. I mean, you're my favorite.
Yeah.
I mean, he could step up his game. No, I mean, it was a really interesting look into his life, and because I grew up in Southern California, so to hear that, it kind of gave me like the skateboarder, because I was like, I'm not a skateboarder.
Right.
Like I fell and I was like, we're done with this sport.
You wanted to be. Though.
I wanted to be, but I was like,
part of the culture.
Yeah, it was like that Southern Cal. I was like, wow, it really hurts when you fall.
Yeah.
I was like, we're good.
Yeah.
Because you like hit a pebble and you go fly and you're like, that's enough.
Right. I've been there many times. But no, it was cool. And I appreciate that. And yeah, anytime you want to talk some more, we're here for it. Whether on the podcast or just in general.
Yeah, well,
and I'll definitely hit you up next time from New York, and we should go on a run, like a 4 or 5.
Hours?
For 4 or 5.
Hours.
Yeah, I won't say.
Let's just circle this mountain. Yeah. Let's circle the whole island. Done.
Yeah. We're in Baltimore. We could head up to, we get 10 miles north and 10 miles back.
All right.
4 hours.
That's it.
All right, man. Well, it's good having you on the podcast. I appreciate it. And we'll put all the links in the description for everything. And
appreciate it.
Thanks for coming down.
Thank you for having me. It was... Just get out there. It's, running the community, it can change your life.
Yeah.
I mean, it has for you, it has for 100%. Me, for all of us that get to enjoy this beautiful thing that's called running and never stop.
Yeah.
Believing in yourself and in humanity.
Yeah, definitely, man. Well, thanks again. And we'll put all links if you want to check out Back on My Feet or help out or contribute in any way. Yeah. And I wish you all the best and everything, because it seems like right now you're in a really good spot with everything, and it's awesome to see it.
Yeah, I really am. Thank you.
All right. Take care, man.
Give a good stretch, got my laces tied. My trusty podcast by my side. If you want to talk fun, it's the place to be. Yeah, it's the drop. DRO.